to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
I'm back. Alright, hello everybody, this is Kirsha here. Now then, whenever we last left off, this is going to be where we pick up from. Deku, he had just made a press release to basically everyone on television, showing them that Sir Night-Eye, he has been going against the Hero Organization and working with the military and international governments to at least try and stop him, albeit in a way that's less than stellar. So, this is going to be where we pick up. Whenever we last left off, well, I just explained it, but let me begin. Deku, he has walked into the next room, as Overhaul is telling him that things are going nearly as planned. But they do need to be careful. Some of his informants are telling him that heroes are going to be trying to destroy the base, or trying to pinpoint its location. Since most of us can go out in public, this is where things have become a problem. He thinks the heroes might be trying to plan something soon. Even then, the heroes, they've had a bit of a solution against you, which would confuse Deku, as Overhaul would do one thing. He would set down his coffee as he would walk over and pick up a remote, turning on the TV, to see the headline, "The living virus has exposed information. What are the heroes' solution?" To which he would just say that this is his solution, as All Might is stating the press. He is telling anyone he can and whoever will listen that their solution for fighting the living virus is this man's help, which is whenever James Heller would walk out of the shadows, revealing his face. To which Deku, he somewhat smirks at, as dozens of people are just staring at Heller, and the military, being reluctant, would at least listen to this man, since they want to fight fire with fire. Now, Heller would just say that he is quite aware of the situation. He knows that this isn't going to be good, or it's not going to be bad, but just know that everything Sir Night-Eye has done, that is all in the past. They cannot change that. They do need to look forward, however. Me and my people, aside from that psychopath, we've met him before, except we don't feed on humans. We feed on the creatures in the red zone. In fact, we've cleared out 4 hives already. How many has the government cleared out? To which people would just think, the government's only been able to clear out 10, but these people alone, just by eating, are able to clear out that many. Which is whenever they're trying to say that they can form a utopia and be near to self-sufficient. But that's just the problem. This boy is stopping that dream from becoming a reality. So, he just wants time to deal with this. While that's happening, Overhaul would just tell Deku that he needs to leave now and get back to his experiments. To which Deku would just agree, as Overhaul would leave. Now then, Overhaul, while he is leaving, he would talk to All For One. All For One would tell him that his little plan is going to work, correct? Yes, well, it's going to take some time, but I understand. Now, I would be more interested in you using that research to find a way to turn the Blacklight back to normal. Well, it's a quirk, so it should do the same. Well, good. These bullets, if they can work against them, then we can sell them to the government. Or at least get on the hero's side for a little while. Put the Blacklight down, and they will revere us as heroes, instead of All Might and the organization that he works with. So, just keep this information under wraps. Well, that is being said, the heroes are planning. All Might would get Bakugo and some other students ready, explaining that this girl with the illusion quirk, she can work perfectly. The man with the funnel quirk, or the wind quirk, he was on recommendation. He was supposed to go to UA, but he did not. So he actually was able to avoid the incidents. However, Bakugo Katsuki, the boy with seemingly 4 quirks. It's quite impressive. To which people would somewhat stare at him for a second. Bakugo, he would have to explain that it's kind of impressive, yes, but he never really asked for it. People being a bit more confused, Bakugo would have to explain that he has an enhancement quirk, a distance-based quirk, well, an explosion quirk, and as he would begin to levitate off the ground, saying this. He can basically just tell them that it's like flight, but it's also just like Gran Torino's. Now, well, that is being said, All Might and what's left of the heroes are beginning to plan, as they somewhat have a location for the villain's base. They have possible locations, however. They've hit most of them. In this time, they are going to hit the actual base, and they are going to go in as if it's really happening. Police and everyone will be ready and on standby, along with what's left of this experimental military drug. Deku would actually ask one question as he's searching through the lab, asking if they have any more of that version 5. To which Yurako would just do one thing, as she holds up a little vial, saying that they do. But this stuff is dangerous to them, however. What do you mean? Well, it was only used to kickstart your system. The only reason you didn't die is because this has 100 more times adrenaline than anything on the planet. So, exactly what are you talking about? Well, as she would lean in close to Deku, saying that it can shock his system. The only reason he didn't die back in that base is probably because of this. Now, Deku would just tell her that that's fine. They just need to save it, and use it in case of emergencies. So, this is going to be where the villains, they are just relaxing and actually hanging out, as All For One is beginning a plan in his head for another big attack. While that's happening, Heller, he would bust into the room, along with All Might, as they begin to attack. Everyone would get into place, as All Might begins to go for Kirigiri. Well, Bakugo goes for Black Whip, uses Black Whip to go for everyone else, as he tries to wrap twice up, along with Big Sis and Kirigiri. At least getting on top of the Kirigiri to try and stop him. While that's happening, however, Deku, him and everyone else is in the next room as they would walk in. Deku, seeing Heller and All Might, he would be ready as he would rush towards them, tackling Heller outside of the room, as these two send each other flying. Heller would just comment on how this seems a little bit like their old fights, but he has one question. Was that actually you, kid, or was that just that little copy and duplicate? No, I remember it, but as Deku begins to crack his neck, saying that it wasn't him, it was that duplicate. So he'll do him a favor and actually not hold back anymore, as he would rush towards him. Heller would just comment that it's surprising that Elizabeth isn't here, to which as soon as Deku hardens his body, he comes up to actually a mix between this hardened state and Elizabeth's, where her entire body is coated, and Deku, he's just more armored, he's got spikes, he's got tendrils, and he can use any part of his body as a weapon now. Heller would comment as soon as these two get no grapple hold that it's kinda crazy. He can't believe that this psychopath would murder his own mother, to which Deku would do one thing, as he creates two more arms out of his sides, grabbing Heller's forearms, as he begins to push back against him, saying that Elizabeth wasn't his mother. She killed his mother long ago and took her place. The psycho made me this way. And you know what? As Deku would begin to smile as two more arms would pop up out of the sides, pushing Heller to the ground as a spike would come out of his arm and begin to make its way up Heller's. As Deku would do one thing, standing back up, grabbing onto pushing down on Heller's arm, breaking his arm out of socket, as Deku would just rip it off, saying that he's glad she did so. She wanted to create a monster, and he'll give her a goddamn monster. As All Might would run in, tackling Deku to the ground. Deku turning around and looking straight towards All Might, telling him that this doesn't matter. You wanna know something? As Deku would just point his hand outward, saying that All for One is 5 blocks that way. I've been planning something for him for a little while, but if you want to go take him down now, do so, because I believe you have heroes over there too, don't you? As All Might's a bit confused, asking how does Deku know this, to which he somewhat smirks. All Might realizing that his men over there might actually be already dead, immediately rushing away as Bakugo watches All Might leave. Deku just tells Bakugo that he might want to go join him, as Bakugo gets punched in the face. He would turn around and see that someone is doing that, as he looks straight at Kirishima. Kirishima would just tell Bakugo that this is no hard feelings, as Kaminari begins to shoot blasts at him. Bakugo would just dodge and dodge and dodge, as Todoroki will begin to throw fireballs at him. He is trying to block them and actually get out of their way, as he begins to use One for All to throw around 90%. As he is basically surrounded. Deku doing one thing. He would bring his hands outwards as he sprays a mist throughout the air. While that's happening, this is whenever a couple hunters would actually show up and Yurako would walk outside looking at this, as she would whistle for her own. 6 appearing. Bakugo would realize that he is in trouble, as some other heroes would jump in with Bakugo. They would just say that All Might needs help. As far as they know, that kid's just as strong. They don't care what the situation is between them right now, just go and help your dad. To which Bakugo somewhat freezes for a second. And he would just turn and jump away, as the heroes would seemingly have a battle, dying in the process, leaving enough time for Bakugo to get away. Meanwhile, over with Deku and Heller. Deku summoned his pack so that they won't be interrupted. Turning back around to fight him, he would find that Heller's not on the ground, as he would look to his right, seeing that Heller's running and leaving a trail. So, as he would throw his whip outward, immediately lashing it into Heller's side. Dragging him straight towards him, he would just throw up another punch, knocking Heller to the ground, as he walks over and begins doing one thing. He would begin the process of absorbing him. As he does so, stabbing into his gut, Deku begins, as Heller's body is beginning to transform. Meanwhile, on the top of a rooftop, I believe Mr. Snipe, he is taking aim, as he would fire, as a bullet would go straight through Deku's head. Now, as soon as Deku falls, Heller would just try recovering, as he tries standing back up. Uraka would see this as Heller would start making his way towards Deku. But as soon as he watches as a pack is running straight for him, he turns and begins to run away, not even bothering to pick up Midoriya, as Heller would do one thing. He's trying to head for reinforcements, but that's not going. Now then, meanwhile, on the other side of town, you have a battle going on. All for One has just revealed himself, as you have All Might appearing. All Might would clash with All for One, as All for One would just tell All Might that that was quite unexpected. So you are back in your prime. Or, no. The boy was right. You're actually a little bit slower than my calculations. But even then, that shouldn't be a problem, as All Might would back away from All for One. Bakugo would arrive, and he would just ask All Might exactly what's been happening. Because the heroes, they're a bit tricky. They told him that he should head over here, as All Might would tell Bakugo that they need to take him down. This is All for One. You already know who he is, so we need to take him down fast before he can hurt civilians. To which Bakugo would just say that he can try and do that, as he would charge up 90% of One for All, and wrap Black Whip around his arms. Or at least, he would use them like their fingerless gloves, except he would have the bottom of his palm exposed, as he's able to wrap them up around his arms and actually cover parts of his torso. Somewhat trying to use Black Whip like armor. Now, as that happens, All Might would just say that that should work for now. But they need to really do this, as All for One reveal his All Might killing weapon. However, it has a bit of a twist. The arm grows bigger and stronger. As All for One, he has Muscular's quirk. Now, All Might would see this and he is in shock, realizing that he never thought about a possibility like this. He would just turn to Bakugo, telling him that he needs to actually evacuate civilians. He can try and hold him off for now, but this is going to be something, as more heroes arrive on scene. Now, meanwhile, Heller, he is making a phone call as he is in an alley, telling them that that kid was a bit stronger than he thought. He needs biomass, and he needs it now. In fact, as 3 people would arrive on scene, these are some of Heller's allies. They would just say that they are here. They can back him up for now, so where is this kid, as they would all turn around. Heller would come to one conclusion, throwing out his hands, stabbing tendrils in each of their backs, absorbing them, getting reinvigorated, saying that he has a solution too. Now, meanwhile, over with Deku, he would get up off the ground, as he would spit the bullet out of his mouth and look around. As soon as he does so, he hears another gunshot, as he hardens his head this time. He would turn as the bullet bounces straight off of his forehead, and he just stares down the sniper. As Mr. Snipe, he's in shock, staring at this. The boy was not only able to see him, pinpoint his location, and find him, but he was able to also survive the shots, as Deku starts jumping towards him. He would lunge straight for the top of the building as he gets there in less than a second, jumping onto it and actually killing and consuming Mr. Snipe. Or I believe his name is Professor Snipe. Probably. Anyways, while that is going on, the fight with All Might and All for One is going different. All for One is winning, and Shigaraki and everyone else, they are free, as they were able to take down the heroes, thanks to Midnight. Her quirk mixed with the Blacklight Virus created somewhat of a Not a knockout gas, but something that can poison your opponents and turn them into, well, it's basically like an alternate form of mind control, basically. So she's able to at least take them out of the equation and consume them. So, this is where Shigaraki, he would do one thing, as he would tell Kirigiri to let him on the scene and help his master, as Midoriya would see the portal open. He would just guide everyone to go through the portal, and they need to help Kirigiri, as everyone would... Now then, as Deku's looking around, he would instruct everyone to head for the portal. They needed help all for one. As Deku and everyone would jump through. As they would arrive, All Might would find that he is surrounded. As he would turn around to see, Bakugo is facing off. These two are back to back. As All Might, he would see that Bakugo is going up against Ochako, Jiro, Mina, Momo, Kirishima, Kaminari, and Todoroki, along with the most dangerous boy or man in the world. Besides All for One, the living virus himself, Izuku Midoriya. Now, Deku would just say one thing as he walks forward. Come on, Bakugo. It doesn't have to end like this. You know it. As if I'd ever join you. Join me? I'm insulted. I just want you on my side, that's all. Don't you see? We can take them down. Or would you prefer to be labeled as a terrorist after this is all over? As Deku, he watches Bakugo's expression change. As Deku would just say one thing. You are a time bomb. Your attitude, your persona, and that shitty personality you have. You always decide to use your quirk without any questions or regard for anyone's safety. Even then, you can never escape that fact. So, what will it be? Bakugo would bring his hands up, charging straight for Midoriya. As Deku would just tell them that he has him on his own. Help all for one. As Deku and Bakugo would immediately clash. While everyone else focuses their attention on All Might. Mina straight up throwing acid at him. As All for One would just jump away. All Might would watch as one thing would happen. He begins to jump around and try and outmaneuver everyone, while the rest of the heroes are getting people out of the way. All Might would have been punched and actually kicked around a little bit, as his mobility with his new leg and his new arm are not the best, giving them the edge. Now, eventually All Might, he would have had someone kick into his leg and somewhat damage the prototype. Kirishima being able to at least absorb a blow from All Might for a minute, he was able to get close enough to somewhat try and inject the virus into him. But he would have stepped straight through that leg. Now, All Might would have had to disconnect it as the virus was spreading and actually creating spikes all throughout it. So that was a bit of a loss, as the world would see that All Might is actually injured, missing an arm and a leg. His costume is ripped enough to reveal the gears and everything underneath, along with his scar, as people begin to cheer All Might on. Now, Deku, him and Bakugo are fighting. As Bakugo, he would have been able to get on top of Deku and actually begin to smash his face in, as they're just going over and over and over again. While that's happening, Deku, he would have just been talking with Bakugo over and over, as Bakugo would just tell him that it's no use. He's clearly more powerful than him. What are you even gaining from this? Well, Bakugo, as Deku would begin to spit out blood, saying that they just want to prove a point. You don't understand it. You want to know how bad it was when I found out my mother was dead? What? Yeah, my mom's been dead for a while. You know that Elizabeth bitch? Turns out she masqueraded as her. Funny that. Anyways, now, where were we? As an arm would immediately come out of Deku's guts, sulking Bakugo in the face. As Bakugo somewhat has a broken jaw. Deku would do one thing as he creates Hammer Fist, and creates massive versions of them, as he grows in size, rivaling even All Might. As he says one thing. This took a little while, but he's gonna have to use it, as he pulls out a little syringe and jabs it into his neck. Bakugo and All Might watching in horror, as Deku just grows stronger. He tells everyone to get out of the area, as they would begin to do so. Mina, she would have been able to at least get a lucky shot in on All Might along with Kaminari, shooting enough electricity in All Might to fry and make that arm explode. All for One is just watching now, as Stain is too. Now, people would be watching as Deku he immediately charges in, kicking Baku away and getting into a clash with All Might. All Might explaining even though he has one arm, he's not going to stop. To which Deku would do one thing. While All Might is trying to fight him without an arm, Deku, he would have made a blade pop out of his gut, as it would immediately stab through and basically take out All Might's internal organs, covering the entire area, as All Might gets riddled and filled with spikes. As Bakugo, he watches on in horror. All Might would have done one thing, though. He would have cocked his arm backwards as much as he can and smashed Deku in the face with 1,000,000%. As he would have been able to at least hold on to him and at least try and squeeze the life out of him. Thinking that it can work. He just needs to hit him with everything he's got, throwing this punch over and over and over again while he's basically holding on to Deku with his teeth, trying to get a good grip. However, this is actually infecting All Might with the virus, inadvertently. But while Deku, he is regenerating the hole in his chest, he would have recreated a pair of arms, grabbing into All Might, as Deku would have pulled out All Might's shoulder blades. As he would have done so, he would have just dropped them onto the ground, as All Might is just somewhat standing there, not able to move at all. As Deku begins to regenerate completely, people watching as the skin, the bone, and the muscle, it just keeps returning to Deku's face, Deku just somewhat being in pain whenever it comes back over, or covers the areas. As he would have done one thing. He would have grabbed into All Might's face and just tell him that he failed. Now, as Deku, he would begin to absorb All Might. He would just tell All Might that it's quite sad though. You were the only hero I knew who was actually what he meant and sought out to be. It's too bad though, we were on the wrong sides. Well, you are. But that at least gives him one thing. As All Might would just look towards Bakugo. Bakugo would just be in horror as All Might does one simple thing. Smiling one last time. Before Deku completely consumes him and begins to morph into him. As he does so, he immediately turns towards the camera and says one thing. I am here. Now, as he does that, he would just do one thing. Saying that if it's not bad enough, this is going to be where it begins. Now, Heller, I know you're out there, and I will find you. Know that. However, when I do, you are not going to like it at all. However, you can change and be on my side. Our species can live. not with the humans, but, well, differently from them. We can rule the world, and so show the world that we need to be truthful. We need to stay with each other, not against one another, like heroes and villains. There is no black and white, just the gray, where no one likes to look. But I stare directly at it, while you just take a glance and look away. Now, as Deku would just turn around, looking straight at All For One. As All For One would just look down at Deku, telling him that he did a good job. But Shigaraki, he is not here. Where is that boy? I did tell Kirigiri to keep him safe, so I cannot tell him that that was not what I wanted. However, this has been annoying. As Deku would just hear that line again. Keep Shigaraki safe. So that's what his whole plan is. Shigaraki is going to take his place. Well, not anymore. Now, Deku, he would begin to walk over to All For One, as he tells them that they need to leave now. As he would hold up his arm and have it morph into a cannon, as he fires it upwards. Everyone would begin to come back to him, as they would all leave, in a portal, arriving in Overhaul's base. Now then, that is going to be where I leave things off of, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part. Ugh.